Welcome to the Couch Scouts Podcast. We provide league-winning analysis, advice, and tools to help you dominate your league and build a dynasty. Scout, draft, win. Here's your host, Matt Cooper.
Hello, and welcome to the Couch Scouts Podcast, episode 93. I am not your host, Matt Cooper. I'm your host, Matt Jackson. Cooper is currently on a vacation right now, so you guys get me and, of course, my fellow co-host, Matt Rupert.
How you doing, my man?
I'm doing good, man. I feel like this is pretty on brand. We had this conversation before we joined, but I'm doing the Couch Scouts Podcast from my couch. Admittedly, I didn't want to walk over to my chair because it's just been that kind of week. But I was like, this feels on brand enough with our listeners that, like, I feel like they would appreciate me doing the podcast from the couch.
100% agree. Totally on brand for us. I feel like we should always be doing our podcast from the couch.
I feel like somebody mentioned, like, I don't know how many podcasts it was ago, but they wrote a comment. It might have been on our YouTube page, and they were like, why aren't you guys doing this from your couch? So whoever wrote that, I hope you're listening. I took your advice, and I'm doing it from the couch, and it is mighty comfortable, might I add. But we are excited to be back with you guys again tonight for episode 93. On tonight's episode, we are continuing our divisional breakdown series that we started last week. So last week, we went over the AFC East. Throughout this series, we're going to be going just division by division, looking at each of the NFL divisions, looking at offseason questions, players to watch, teams that made a splash, and all sorts of things that you want to know as you go into the start of your dynasty season. And for tonight's episode, we are going, I think there's no other fitting place to go in the AFC after some of the news that we had break this last week than going to the AFC North. In case you don't know who's in the AFC North, that would be the Baltimore Ravens, the Cleveland Browns, the Cincinnati Bengals, and the Pittsburgh Steelers. It was actually funny, Rupert, when I chose that we were going to go to this division, I just got done watching a TikTok, and there's this guy that does like these funny NFL videos that he was essentially like acting as like Roger Goodell, the commish, and like he was going to like the AFC North, and like he walked in the room, he was like, guys, like, come on, what's wrong with you? Like, he was like, every time something goes wrong, it's always you three or you four. I feel like that's what the AFC North is, right? Every time something goes wrong, it's always the AFC North.
That sounds about right. It definitely seems on brand for the AFC North for things to go south. And the kind of off-season news that you don't want your team to have. It seems to always happen in the AFC North.
It's like always those guys. So I'm excited to talk about this. The first place that we're going to start, there's some off-season questions. I've wrote one question for each of the divisions that we're gonna go to tonight, and I figured, God, there's no better place to start than the Cleveland Browns and Quinshon Judkins' arrest, right? I think that was the news of this last week. It might have been the news of the offseason. Cleveland spends a second-round pick on Quinshon Judkins, and then he gets arrested for assault and battery, and it's just all sorts of a mess to add already to the Cleveland Browns roster. So my question for you, Rupert, is with the news of Quinshon Judkins' arrest, how far down one are you dropping him in your rankings? And then what does this mean for Dylan Sampson?
First off, how out of left field was this? Judkins was the guy that, you never heard a peep about character concerns, at least that I saw. So this one definitely came out of left field, and it's not the news that you want to hear. But as of right now, like, I would just caution people not to overreact here. Let's find out some more details. Let's wait it out. And to be frank, like, I had Sampson eating into Judkins' workload more than probably most analysts were predicting. So to me, they weren't that far off to begin with. And I got a lot of Sampson shares and basically no Judkins shares. I think maybe I got one. But I would just not sell either, guys. I'm just going to hold and see how this plays out. If I have Judkins, don't panic sell right now. He could be acquitted. We don't know the details of what all happened. And then on the other side, I've seen people like saying that you need to sell Dylan Sampson because this is the highest his value is going to be. I don't think that's the case. He's too talented of a player. I just loved his film so much. I think he's going to get a lot of work with Cleveland, and he's going to pop on tape, surprise some people. So I'm not going to try and sell him high right now unless I get some kind of ridiculous offer.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of on the same boat with you, especially with the holding Quinshon Judkins. And I think the case that is the most familiar to me is like looking at like Justin Tucker, right? Who it was like Deshaun Watson light, I guess. And he got suspended 10 games in 2025, right? For everything that he did. I think as much as like I'm not in support of, I want to make it very clear. So against what Quinshon Judkins has been accused of, right? And if he did what he did, there needs to be a hefty suspension for it. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think there will be. I mean, we've seen case after case of this in the NFL, and there's just not ever much of a case of hefty long suspensions, right? Like we just never really see it. People are panicking now. So if there is a Quinshon Judkins owner that is panicking, like now would be the time I try to buy, but I'm definitely not selling right now. I liked his tape. I think I liked it maybe a little more than, I can't remember what our film grades were, but I liked it a little more than you guys might have. But I'm holding him right now. I'm not selling at a low point. And when it comes to Dylan Sampson, Sampson is definitely somebody that like I can only see his stock going up in the NFL season. Like he's too good of a player for it not to rise. So I'm really excited for that to go. I'm holding both of them, honestly.
100% agree.
So next question that we have is, admittedly, it was a little hard for me to think of a question for the Baltimore Ravens a little bit, but the one that I came up with is, do you think Lamar is going to win MVP this year? And do you think that Derrick Henry at his ripe age of 31, 32 can continue the dominance that he showed last season?
I feel like some way, somehow, Lamar's probably going to still be overlooked for MVP. Last year, he was the first quarterback ever, if I remember correctly, to throw for 4,000 yards and rush for 800 yards, and he didn't get it. So even if he repeats that performance, it seems unlikely he'll win it. I would have loved to see him win it personally. I think he's an amazing player. Has really kind of proven every doubter wrong. Speaking of proving doubters wrong, seems like what Derrick Henry does year in and year out. It feels like some fantasy analysts everywhere is counting on his downfall every year, saying, "Oh, this is the time he's going to fall off the cliff," and he just stiff arms, father time here, year in and year out. And seeing some of his training videos from this offseason, I'm not going to doubt him. I'm not going to be that guy. I feel like he's made me look dumb. I sold him a couple years ago for the 101 thinking I got a home run and drafted Najee Harris. And it turns out I should have just held on to Derrick Henry because I thought, that quiz guy comes sometime soon and might as well get the 101 while I can. That trade in hindsight looks a little lopsided. So I'm just not going to count him out until I actually see it on the film. Seeing that he doesn't have that long speed anymore, seeing he doesn't have that burst to accelerate through the hole. I'm just not going to doubt him until I see it with my own eyes.
I mean, Derrick Henry, first and foremost, he's always been a unicorn, right? Like, yeah. He like, 100%. I think your example of stiff arming father time is what he's done at least the last few seasons. And he's stiff armed all the doubters his entire career. And I don't know, like Derrick Henry seems like that type of guy that you're just going to ride off into the sunset with.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'm ever like the rosters that I have him on. I don't know if I'm ever like going to be like, this is the year that he falls off, so I'm going to sell him early, right? Like that ship has sailed. At this point, you're just holding him on, and however many years you can get out of him, like you're counting the blessing, right? I am like you. I'm not going to doubt Derrick Henry. I doubted him last year, and we saw what he did there. So when it comes to Lamar Jackson, though, like I don't. It seems that the style of quarterback that he plays, right? And not that I'm saying he's a like he's not even to the point now where he's a run first quarterback. Like he's looking for the pass now. But I think people still view him that way, maybe. So he's all that. Maybe that's the reason why he's always overlooked. I think he's going to have a phenomenal season this year. I think that there's a solid chance that he finishes as QB1 this year. So that Ravens offense, at least in the minds of Derrick Henry and Lamar Jackson, is wheels up for me. Next question, we got to go to the Cincinnati Bengals, and they are such an enigma, Rupert. They were last season. They got this Trey Hendrickson holdout. Like they haven't paid him, and they're not paying the guy that they drafted to replace him. So I'm like, what's going on with this situation? They've invested all of their money into the offense. The defense is going to give up 30 points a game. So my question that I kind of ask you is, what do you think the over-under is on the Bengals? Do they finish with over or under 9 wins this season after a disappointing 2024?
I don't feel confident in this pick, but I want to say over, but barely. There's no drama on the offensive side because they signed Chase and Higgins. They're locked in. They're all ready to go on the offensive side of the ball. Still a lot to work out on the defensive side. And they didn't sign anybody.
Pay one of these guys. Like if you're not going to pay Trey, pay the other one.
Yeah, it doesn't make any sense. And they didn't make any moves in free agency really to shore up that defense. They did fire their defensive coordinator, so maybe a new system helps them out there. But as long as they have Trey Hendricks on the field, like having an elite pass rusher like that, it gives their defense a chance to be, respectable. Maybe they give up 29 points instead of 30 points so that their offense can, carry them to 9 wins. So I'm hoping that their defense is stable enough to where they're not just letting down their offense week in and week out because their offense is just so fun to watch.
Yeah, no. Offense has never been the issue with the Bengals, right? It's always been the other side of things. I'm looking right now because I was just curious as to how this went. So looking at their regular season last year, see that's 1, 2, 3, 4. Sorry, I'm doing a quick math. I'm trying to figure out how many games they lost by less than a touchdown. 5, 6, 7. Yeah, 7 games last year. They lost by less than a touchdown, Rupert. So I think it's very possible that they finish with over 9 wins this year. Like a touchdown, that's a drive, that's a swing the other direction, right? Like I would love to sit here and say, like, yeah, they have all the talent in the world to be, a playoff team and to make a deep playoff run. Like no one is going to sit here and argue that. I don't think. I think the question mark is everything that's going on the defensive side of the ball and those contract holdouts, right? Like if they can get that fixed, like I'm pretty confident they're going to be an over 9 wins team this season. I know the last few years, Rupert, they've been a pick of mine to make a deep playoff run and go to the Super Bowl. And I haven't been right the last 2 years, but maybe they fix that this year. I don't know. I can always hope. So we both agree on the Bengals being over 9 wins. You both I think barely. I think that's over, but barely is a good way to look at that. So the final question I have has to do with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And you want to talk about just some craziness happened, getting rid of almost all of their offense, right? Like starting over from scratch. The bones of Aaron Rodgers is now at the driver's seat for Pittsburgh. So my question has to do with Aaron Rodgers. Do you think that Aaron Rodgers this year is going to be somebody that you can confidently start in Dynasty this year? And by confidently, I'm like solid like QB2, right? I think his QB1 days are behind him, but can you confidently start him in Superflex leagues as a QB2? And if so, who do you think the main benefactor of that offense is?
Confidently, no. He's just up there in age, and they don't have a ton of weapons. They have DK Metcalf and then Calvin Austin and Roman Wilson at wide receiver. It's like he doesn't have a plethora of weapons to throw to. He's got a pretty good tight end tandem with Jonnu Smith and Pat Freiermuth, but I don't think that's going to really support, high-end QB production. But I will say that it does give me a little bit of ease that he's actually with a stable organization, and that offense isn't going to rely on him to air it out, 40 times a game. Say what you want about Arthur Smith, but I think like his philosophy on offense fits like the Steelers' MO pretty well. Run the ball, play action, pass deep down the field. I think that does play into Rodgers' skill set, even at this age. But I still wouldn't venture to say that I'm confident starting him as my QB2.
Yeah, no, that's kind of where I'm at as well. He's one of those bottom of the roster guys. Like he makes a solid QB3, and like, hey, if I've got him for a flex option or a bye week option, like I feel decently okay about it. But he's not somebody that I'm going to be like, yeah, like I'm going to start you week in and week out as my QB2 and feel good about it, right? I think he had a great season last year with the Jets, especially towards the end of the season. But I'm not confident on him. I mean, main benefactor of that offense is of course DK Metcalf, right? Like I don't really see outside of Pat Freiermuth like any real target hog on that offense to take targets away from him. So I'm excited to see what he can do with Aaron Rodgers, because we looked at the Jets last year. Garrett Wilson had a decent season. You look at what's his face, the former Green Bay Packers receiver. No.
Oh, Devontae Adams. Sorry.
Yeah. Devontae Adams. I don't know why I was blanking on him. Devontae Adams had a good year as well. So I think DK Metcalf is going to have a good year this year. He's somebody that I'm intrigued about in Dynasty this year. I think he could outperform the ADP price.
I 100% agree. And that's a great segue into our next section, talking about players that we're going to be watching this upcoming season in the AFC North. My pick was DK Metcalf, exactly. Over the years, he's had quite a bit of target competition with Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith, and Jigba. Now, as I just stated, he doesn't really have anyone at wide receiver that's any kind of threat to get a bunch of targets. So I'm really interested to see that if he can kind of return to that wide receiver one kind of production that he showed us a couple years ago.
No, I completely agree with that. I think he's somebody that makes an interesting play in startup drafts this year, because you could get him later than you probably should be able to, and he's going to be just a target monster for that offense. I love that call out. The one that I went with was T. Higgins. T. Higgins now has gotten paid, right? There's no longer that question. Is he going to re-sign? Is he going to go to another team? No, he's locked in with Cincinnati. And I think we saw last year when T. Higgins is healthy, right? When T. Higgins is healthy and him and Joe Burrow have that connection, the ceiling is really high for T. Higgins. So he's somebody that now that he's got the bag, he's got his contract, I'm really excited to see what he does this year. He's somebody that I'm really watching to see how he does. Another guy that I'm watching, I'll just add for the Steelers, is Caleb Johnson, just because of the hype in rookie drafts this year. I think everybody has valued him much higher than we as a brand valued him. So I'm excited to see how that plays out because there's nobody really there that's going to take carries away from him. So what does that look like for Caleb Johnson? What does the stock look like after the season? He's somebody else. If I'm throwing just like an honorable mention, he's somebody that I'm excited. I don't know, excited is the right word, but I'm interested.
I liked the tape. I didn't love his tape, and the reason was because I think he's very scheme dependent, and he went to the scheme that matches his skill set the best with the Steelers. So I
Yeah.
agree. I'm also intrigued.
Well, we're going to take a quick break real quick because I want to tell you guys about our website, CouchScouts.com. If you guys are not a member, there's a lot of stuff that we're trying to provide value for you in a membership. You can get it as low as $5 a month, or you can save annually if you buy, if you buy the annual membership. We got things like our rookie guide if you're still in rookie drafts. We talk about this weekly, but it is such a labor of love to help you guys dominate your rookie drafts. It's got information on Caleb Johnson that we just talked about. That is, I would say, it's pretty against consensus that you might want to check out after watching his film. We got things like a consultation that Rupert is about to do, a one-on-one consultation going over dynasty team needs right after this podcast. We've got things like a free Discord that you can come and ask all sorts of questions, dynasty questions, trade questions, grade my roster, anything and everything. That Discord server is always hopping and it's free to join. We also have a film room. So after this podcast, we're going to be discussing top 12 Devy quarterbacks. And if you're like, man, who are the Devy quarterbacks? Who are the college guys that I need to be watching right now? You can go into our film room right now and watch film on guys like Arch Manning, on Drew Allar, all those guys. So check it out, CouchScouts.com. Save when you bundle on an annual membership. Would love to have you. Would love to get to know our listeners. All right, we're going to finish with this, Rupert. We're going to talk some team-specific questions, and I'm going to start with you. Which team do you envision is going to end up surprising people the most in the AFC North this year?
I'm calling out the Ravens to really surprise people as the team that gets over the hump this year. Not just a playoff team, but I think deep in the playoffs and possible Super Bowl run. I just absolutely love what they did in the draft. They were able to get Malachi Starks at safety, who is a ball hawk, rangy safety from Georgia. I only saw a little bit of his film. I didn't do a deep dive, but I just love what I saw, and that scheme fits so well. And they already have Kyle Hamilton at safety, who is an absolute stud. So now they just have like two incredible safeties. It kind of makes me think that he could have like that Earl Thomas kind of impact that he had on the Legion of Boom when they drafted him. And on top of that, they already have good cornerbacks. And then they went out and got Jair Alexander this offseason. Really good cornerback. So their defensive backfield looks incredible. And then they're able to get one of the best pass rushers in this draft, and Mike Green in the second round, who fell due to character concerns, but he's going to a team and a culture that really can help mentor him and hopefully get the best out of him. So I think they just had some home runs in the draft. They had some splashes in free agency with Alexander. I think that defense is going to be so good this year, and that's what's going to get them over the hump.
No, I like that call out. They're always one of those teams that like you want to get over the hump, right? And they could have done it last year, albeit a Mark Andrews drop touchdown pass. They were
so close.
They were that touchdown pass away from advancing. I was like, whoa, like it's crazy. But no, I think this might be their year. Like I love that call out. The team that I went with, I know we just spent a little bit kind of crapping on them a little bit, but I do kind of think the Cleveland Browns might surprise a few people this year. I think if they can get kind of that QB situation figured out, I know they're walking into the season with 17 quarterbacks, right? But that's the biggest question mark with the Browns right now. I think their defense is still going to be stellar this year. They drafted two running backs I love in Quinshon Judkins if he ends up playing, and then they got Dylan Sampson, who we just spent time raving about, right? I think he's going to surprise a lot of people with just how good that he is. And then honestly, like I like their wide receiver core, right? Like I like Jerry Jeudy. I feel like I've been getting Jerry Jeudy shares everywhere this offseason just because of his price. I think he's going to be a great compliment to whoever is throwing him the ball. David Njoku has really stepped up the last few years to be a viable tight end asset. Like I feel like Cleveland, while they might not be like the deep playoff run, or they might not be a 12-5 team, 12-6 team. Like that's not them. I still think they're going to surprise a lot of people and be better than a lot of people imagine them being.
I really like that call out as well. I think despite the fact that they passed on Travis Hunter and traded back, I think they had a really good draft. Mason Graham, really good defensive tackle, can pass rush as well. Pairing him with Myles Garrett, I think is going to be really good for them. And then they get a bunch of help on offense with Juckins, Sampson, Harold Fanning to pair with Njoku. So I think they did a lot of good things in the draft this offseason, and we could totally see a situation like what was it, 2 years ago when they had like number one defense in the league. They still have Jim Schwartz there. So I think they could be in a situation where the defense just kind of carries them to a lot of wins this year.
No, I think both of those two teams that we mentioned are definitely ones to keep an eye on. Now let's go to the flip side of that, because I'm interested to hear your take on this. But who do you think, if you had to pick a team this year that's going to leave us the most disappointed, who's your pick for that?
I feel like I have to go to the Steelers. I just don't like what they've done this offseason. That they've been, like just over 500 team, but they haven't had a playoff win since 2016. So it seems like their solution this offseason was let's go buy a bunch of old vets. They traded away Minka Fitzpatrick, who is a staple on their defense at safety, to get Jonnu Smith and Jalen Ramsey, both of whom are over 30 years old. They get DK Metcalf, which is great. I think he's still 27, so he's not an old player, but I just don't think that's anything that's going to put them over the top. And then Rodgers, at this point of the career, I think he's slightly better than what they had last year with Fields and Russell Wilson, but is it really that much better, especially if it's just a one-year rental? The average age of that group of 5 additions that they had is over 32 years old. To me, they're not a couple vets away kind of roster from making it a deep playoff run. I think they need a youth infusion, like a slight kind of soft rebuild. I think they are a potential contender when they're not.
I feel like the Steelers are that one team, right, that they made enough moves this offseason that they'll probably finish where they were last season, right? They'll finish with an above 500 record, and because they always do, and they won't be a team that like anybody's worried about, right? Like I feel like that's their MO right now. Like they always find ways to finish 500, but they're never going to scare you in making a playoff run. And I see them as that this year, just like I've seen them as that every other year, right? I think they have enough veterans that's what's going to happen. So I think they're just going to, right? Like that's just who they are. My pick for a team that'll leave us the most disappointed is a team we just talked about in the Bengals, right? I know we just got done saying I could see a path where they have 10, 11, 12 wins, right? I could also see a path where they have 5 or 6. Like the flip side of that conversation is so easy to see just because of the mess that is their offseason like contract negotiations this year. Like they are treating everybody on that defense like they've been treating T. Higgins for the last few years. Like, and Joe Burrow and that offense are phenomenal, right? Jamar Chase is the best wide receiver in football right now. T. Higgins is a phenomenal wide receiver. Joe Burrow is a phenomenal quarterback when he can stay healthy. Like, it's going to be a great offense. That defense does nothing for me, and you're not paying any defensive players right now. And I could see because they're a team that everybody's like, yeah, they're going to be a deep playoff team, or they're at least going to make the playoffs. Like, I can see a scenario, Rupert, where they don't even make the playoffs at all again this year. Like, and I don't think that's too hard to envision. So I think they're going to end up disappointing a lot of people.
That's definitely in their range of outcomes. Selfishly, I'm kind of hoping that, they can kind of pull it together as a fan of Burrow and Chase and those guys.
I mean, I do too. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not rooting against them actively, but I can see it not
Agreed.
happening. Well, guys, that about does us for tonight, breaking down the AFC North. Hope you guys enjoyed that podcast. Hope it was beneficial to you guys. If you are listening on any of the podcast platforms, whether that be Spotify, Apple Podcast, wherever you get it, make sure to leave us a 5-star rate and review. We'd really appreciate that. It helps people to find us and helps us to get to know our community. So would love it if you guys would do that. Make sure you join that free Discord if you're a listener that I talked about earlier. It'll be the link over in our show notes. We would love to connect with you guys and just meet you and get to know the people that are listening. We have a great community over in the Couch Scouts Discord, and we would love for you to be a part of it. But we are excited to see you guys next week as we continue our